But see, all of the, quote, protected groups who then are put into special guilds in government, they can do whatever they want to you. But you, and I mean, my wife has women come up to her in the grocery store. That's why she wanted to move out of Austin. It doesn't happen where we live now in the country. Nice people. And women will come up at Whole Foods and go, "You've got 3 children?" I mean, this actually happens. And, of course, they're totally unhappy by the time they're 45 and desperately trying to have them, these poor women. But I mean, it is a hatred of life. And you go to the Whole Foods counter, and it's like, how to live austerely. It's so cool to live under austerity. It's good we're getting poor. I've shown you the magazines. Oh, the bankers. It's an idea of being poor, being great, being a schmuck, being conned. And here it is, the caller called us about, and sure enough, teen charged over Port Macquarie police Facebook harassment. And this is ABC News Australia. A Port teenager has been charged with harassing police through a social networking site. Police say last month, 18-year-old allegedly created a Facebook titled, "All Port Macquarie police are corrupt." Uh-oh. Actually, and we have screenshots of the evil site on the Prison Planet forum. We have it saved so you can see the crime. Local police say it named a couple of officers. The page has been taken down. So actually, reading deeper, it's saying they're corrupt. Boom. You don't film in your front yard in America. You don't call them corrupt. But then they also charged him for saying, you know, look at this photo of the police together. I mean, what are they all? I mean, oh, my gosh. Well, they'll show him, won't they? You know, spend some time. The taxpayers are going to pay. They've already taken the Aussies' guns. They killed Crocodile Dundee. The real Crocodile Dundee wouldn't turn his guns in. They SWAT teamed him, murdered him hardcore. Well, he was killed like 12 years ago. Yeah, even NRA wrote about that. I've got the original magazine. I was digging through files a few months ago and actually ran into it. Meant to take it in here. They showed him, didn't they? That country belongs to them. Of course, their government's totally sold out to the communist Chinese. I also see here, yes, their prime minister's called for world government, but it doesn't exist. And government says if you talk about it, you're probably a terrorist. The teen has been charged with obtaining personal information about the police officer for the purpose of harassment. And it turns out they got public, because they've got the big write-up on Prison Planet, public stuff that they put out, and they said, look at this person, you know, and, oh, nope, don't do that. You're going to jail. Police say there were some positive comments about them on the page. Oh, well, that's not allowed either. The young man is due in court August 8th, so he'll stay in jail until then. Well, that's good. So, I mean, actually, the gay part was only part of it. He said they were corrupt, and that's a form of harassment. So he's been dealt with now immediately. Now, we're going to Bob Chapman. I want his take on this first because it's something I covered in the first hour, but I want to get his take on it. We're going to go back to your calls as well. Bob Chapman, former intelligence officer, biggest private silver and gold broker, helped do the Gary Allen report. Now his son, of course, runs Politico, Gary Allen's son. But a preeminent guy fighting tyranny for 50 years and has had to, of course, leave the United States due to harassment so he can live to fight another day, joining us from an undisclosed location, joining us here in a moment. But President Obama's Executive Order 13575 creates rural councils. And so you won't believe me 2 weeks ago when I talked about this, or 16 years ago when I talked about Agenda 21. Even though I'm going under it in Austin, doubling the power prices, raping everything, home inspections, total harassment, big globalist groups, above the law, giving waivers. But it's happening. But here's Ronald Reagan in 64, talking about what the Agriculture Department was trying to do then. And the Agriculture Department's statement is, get big or get out. Their policy is to shut down small farms. They have the premises ID, the animal ID. They have they tried to pass the Food Safety Act because Big Pharma owned Big Agra is always, it's a big combine, they're all merged. They have 17 million in 1 week last November to try to pass that, to openly shut down all the small farms and ranches with incredible, $10 in regulation with chips, tags on a $5 chicken, just total bankruptcy. But then Tyson and the rest are exempt. That's just one example. Just the end of it all. Now, the IRS already doesn't let you write off your hobby farm. You keep a family farm, a family ranch. You try to run cattle to get the state tax exemption because you couldn't pay it if it wasn't there with the property tax. And then you run the cattle. You pretty much lose money having them, but you got to have them there to be able to have the tax exempt. And they come in now to my family and they say, you're not getting that. You don't get to, it's a hobby. It's got to be profitable or you're out. But then it's incredible. Most small farms and ranches, they work at the feed store, or they work at the prison, or they work at the power company, or they work, delivering mail on a route. I know or they're truck drivers, and then they take care of their cows when they get home at 7 o'clock at night, or they take care of their sheep or their crops. It's all over. And they're going to have the receivership arm come in with federal help so they can have the federal busybodies there to organize and con everybody. Don't worry, America's going down. You wanted America. You want tyranny, you're getting it. Here's Ronald Reagan talking about it.
You'll find that they've also asked for the right to imprison farmers who wouldn't keep books as prescribed by the federal government. The Secretary of Agriculture asked for the right to seize farms through condemnation and resell them to other individuals. And contained in that same program was a provision that would have allowed the federal government to remove 2 million farmers from the soil.
If you live in the heartland of America, you have to listen up. While the nation was distracted with the Anthony Weiner drama, President Obama signed an executive order that will seize greater power over food, fiber, and energy
in our
stop
right there.
Countryside area.
And they go over the executive order. Homeland Security, spy brigades, local Homeland Security offices, Department of Defense offices, they're going to help you. Meanwhile, the rest of the story... Find my stack. Here it is. The rest of the story breaks down that they, during the winter, let all these highland lakes, mountain lakes, where all these major floods are having, change their policy. Flood everyone. They let it build up, and then knowing the snow melt would come, then releasing it all at once. And they are openly trying to force folks off their land. I read this in the first hour, and bragging that it's good to get people off of their land. And so now they're not fixing the dams, they're not building ones, they're tearing them down, but they use the existing dams to build it up and then flood you. And they were advised on this, they knew it was coming, and now they're going to take the property. Bob Chapman, I tell you, it is just getting crazier and crazier. You wrote about Agenda 21 back in 1992 when they first rammed it through, and Maurice Strong said, we're going to bankrupt the West, that is our goal, and that is their goal, and the average person just can't admit it's this bad.
You're absolutely correct, and it's been an evolving process, something that's been very subtle, didn't show its head the way it has until just recently. Reminds me of 666, the agglomeration of cities into regions, and that's coming next, I'm sure. And, that was written about 50 years ago. And so these people got a lot of patience, and they're putting into operation what they want to put in. It reminds me of the years between 1934 and 1939 in Germany. They did all these kinds of things, but today they're so much more advanced than they were then. That was a experiment, learning curve. I firmly believe that the situation that existed and was financed the way it was in Germany during the 1930s, and before that actually, was a trial run for what we're seeing today. And proof of that, you look at the amalgamation of Western and Eastern Germany some 15 years ago, and you'll see that all of the people who were involved in spying on both sides and the Stasi were never prosecuted for anything. It was incredible. I mean, intelligence organizations spent years and years spying on the Russians and the East Germans and for the same kinds of things. And if you remember, Alex, it wasn't all that long ago, then they had Marcus Wolf and some of the other people who were involved in Stasi and in the KGB in America with the State Department, and they were under contract to teach Americans in that sphere how to do that and how to set up spying systems, which you've mentioned.
Well, Bob, we're going to break, but, I mean, this is so diabolical. He sets up, Bush starts, Obama continues the 10 governor council so he can ignore the states. Under FEMA has 10 kept minion governors that now run the 10 regions. They set up, as they've done in other countries, this rural affairs office where they admit now you're going to have the Department of Defense and the feds running around in your cornfields. I mean, stay there, Bob. It is so hellish. People have no idea how much trouble we are in. We are being occupied just like Iraq or Libya or any of these countries. By the way, I'm on the prisonplanet.com forum, and you've got all these world leaders calling for it. But I did find the Australian Prime Minister calling for global government, and then they've got the Green parties. When you click on it, greens.org.au, I'm going to get Watson or Kerr, somebody do an article on this. It says global governance, and it's got the path to world government. It's got how great the International Criminal Court is, how great the UN is, that all nations must accept the criminal court and the UN invasion armies for peace. I mean, this is, they come in, they fund a group to uprise, and then the UN invades you. And it's all happening, and of course they put Obama in and gave him a peace prize. That's all part of the joke. It's all part of the, it is peace. That's what Obama keeps saying. He said in his speech a couple days ago, we played the clip yesterday, he said, I don't need to talk to Congress. This isn't war. This is peace. I mean, he actually said that. He said, this is peace. This is peace. Bob Chapman, they are just, it's happening. The world government's here.
Well, they're going forward like it was here, and they want it to be here, and they're making it be here, and all the earmarks are there. And, you know, Australia has been one of the leading places obeying the orders of the New World Order, which is rather surprising. I didn't think that they, in years past, would be, but they are. We carry an Australian section in our international forecaster. We have a lot of news coming out of there. We have several good sources there, and they've got some pretty good coverage through the media there that you are still be able to pick something up that's useful. But we're going to see this all over the world. It's part of a larger plan, and they're ready to go on it, and they're pushing it, and the people who are involved, are coming right out and saying, yes, we have to have a new world order. And you're going to hear more and more of them. They're trying to condition you to think that maybe that's good and it's better than being unemployed.
But then I still even go on mainline Republican shows, and they still go, you're a conspiracy theorist. You believe there's a group setting up world government. And they're like all over the news saying that's the answer to everything. But even some mainline conservative talk show hosts still can't wake up because they remember the 30 years past where you're not supposed to talk about it because it doesn't exist. So I mean, it's like somebody who's been told trains don't exist. Trains don't exist. If you ever see one coming at you, it's imaginary. You're schizophrenic. And so somebody sees a train coming. They just walk out in front of it. And it's like, nah, nah, it's going 70 miles an hour. It's rumbling, they're honking, they're trying to slam their brakes on, and you're just going, it's not a train, it's not a train. I mean, this is mind control.
Absolutely, mind control. And in its present form, it's been refined greatly. The major media uses it all the time. That's why so many of these people get hooked, and then they get sucked in, and then they get indoctrinated. And then when we get a hold of them and tell them the truth, they say, gee, that can't be true. I mean, I didn't see that anyplace else. Are you sure? And as you well know, Alex, that's the kind of thing we have to put up with. And this Facebook thing with the young man, and that's probably going to spread all over the world, that kind of apprehension because you said what they figure is the wrong thing. That's going to become more prevalent. It'll be a way of scaring people into not talking about anything.
It's getting insane. What about Dominique Strauss-Kahn? The New York Times, they've released him from even home detention. They say they may drop the charges, that she's reportedly mafia connected, and they admit that Sarkozy had intelligence people there in the building.